They sold out also in less than an hour.
44 minutes. I was shocked. We're talking about a few thousand jars and lids. We need to do a purchase order of 1 million. This is your baby and this is your brand. Then we prepped for the second seasonal drop and 10x'd our inventory. That sold out in a couple hours. And there was a crew of 80 people.
And the plan is to go global.
Yes, absolutely.
You know that moment when someone's telling you a story and the numbers just don't add up? When every detail sounds impressive, but something in your gut tells you it's all too perfect? Well, that's exactly what happened during Meghan Markle's recent Bloomberg interview, and I've got to tell you, it was absolutely fascinating to watch unfold. Picture this: a former royal sits down with one of the most respected business publications in the world, ready to showcase her entrepreneurial empire. She's got her talking points prepared, her success stories polished, and her confidence dialed up to 11. But then something incredible happens. Her own words start contradicting each other so dramatically that you can almost see the moment when the interviewer realizes they're not getting the story they expected. I spent hours dissecting every claim, every number, every supposedly casual detail from this interview. What I discovered wasn't just a collection of exaggerations. It was a masterclass in how not to build credible business narratives. From products that supposedly sold out faster than Taylor Swift concert tickets to inventory numbers that would make Amazon jealous, Meghan delivered claim after claim that sounded amazing in the moment but fell apart the second you applied basic business logic. The most jaw-dropping moment comes when she starts talking about her Netflix relationship. I won't spoil it now, but let me just say this. You'll hear her describe herself as an independent entrepreneur in one breath, then accidentally reveal the complete opposite in the next. It's the kind of contradiction that makes you rewind just to make sure you heard correctly. Here's what really got to me, though. This isn't just about one person stretching the truth in an interview. This is about recognizing the patterns we see everywhere in celebrity business culture, where success stories get manufactured for public consumption, where normal business operations get repackaged as revolutionary achievements, and where the line between aspiration and fiction becomes so blurred that even the storyteller seems to believe their own narrative. So buckle up, because we're about to dive into 8 moments that reveal how quickly carefully constructed business personas can crumble when they meet basic scrutiny. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll never listen to celebrity business interviews the same way again. The 44-minute miracle that defies all logic. Let's start with what might be the most mathematically impossible claim in the entire interview. Meghan wants us to believe that her rose product, the luxury lifestyle item from a brand most people had never heard of, achieved something that would make seasoned e-commerce experts scratch their heads in disbelief. She claims it sold out in exactly 44 minutes. Now, before you think I'm being nitpicky about success stories, let me walk you through why this claim is so problematic. I've been following e-commerce trends for years, and I can tell you that the kind of instant sellout Meghan describes is incredibly rare. And when it does happen, it's usually backed by massive infrastructure and marketing campaigns. The specificity of 44 minutes immediately caught my attention. Not about 45 minutes, not less than an hour, but precisely 44 minutes. That level of detail suggests either incredibly sophisticated real-time tracking systems or a number that's been crafted more for impact than accuracy.
They sold out also in less than an hour.
44 minutes. I was shocked.
When someone gives you that specific a time frame, especially for something as supposedly unexpected as this sellout, it raises questions. But here's where the story really starts unraveling. For a brand new product from a relatively unknown lifestyle brand to sell out in under an hour, you need certain conditions to be in place. You need massive pre-existing demand, extensive marketing reach, established customer bases, or celebrity endorsements that create genuine urgency.
How do you keep up with demand?
When you sell out that quickly, it's a double-edged sword because it's an incredible thing to happen for any small business.
Yet Meghan presents this phenomenon as if it happened organically through simple word of mouth. Let's talk about the mathematics for a moment. Even if we assume a modest inventory of a few thousand units, which would be reasonable for a startup luxury brand, selling that volume in 44 minutes means you're processing dozens of successful transactions every single minute without interruption. That requires enterprise-level e-commerce infrastructure, sophisticated payment processing systems, and customer service capabilities that can handle sudden traffic spikes without crashing. Most small businesses simply don't have this kind of technical infrastructure. When unexpected demand hits smaller operations, you typically see website crashes, payment processing delays, customer service backlogs, and fulfillment issues. The seamless 44-minute sellout Meghan describes would require the kind of operational sophistication that contradicts everything else she says about being a startup entrepreneur. What makes this claim even more questionable is her apparent surprise at the sellout speed. She describes being shocked by how quickly everything sold, which suggests a fundamental disconnect from her own market research and demand projections. Successful entrepreneurs typically have sophisticated understanding of their customer base, conversion rates, and demand patterns. They might be pleasantly surprised by strong sales, but complete shock at sellout speeds suggests either poor planning or fictional numbers. The real knockout blow to this story's credibility comes from the complete absence of cultural evidence.
At the same time, you don't get the same metrics and learnings about which SKUs and products are the most coveted.
When consumer products experience genuinely viral demand, when they sell out in under an hour and shock even their creators, it generates massive social media buzz, news coverage, industry attention, and widespread consumer conversation. People talk about it, share it, create content around their purchase experience, and often complain about website crashes or missed opportunities. Yet this supposed 44-minute miracle seems to have happened in complete cultural silence. There are no trending hashtags, no frustrated customers posting about website issues, no reseller markets emerging, no influencers creating content about the coveted products. It's as if this unprecedented sellout occurred in a parallel universe where consumer behavior works completely differently. This isn't just about questioning one sales figure. This is about recognizing when someone constructs business narratives that sound impressive in isolation but collapse when you consider how actual commerce works in the real world. When 10x inventory scaling becomes pure fantasy. Just when you think the 44-minute story was the peak of mathematical impossibility, Meghan delivers her next claim. And honestly, this one made my jaw drop even further. She explains that after their initial success, they prepared for their next seasonal drop by multiplying their inventory by 10 times. Let me pause here, because I need you to really understand what this means in practical business terms.
Prepped for the second seasonal drop and 10x'd our inventory and thought for sure that would at least last for a couple weeks.
If they started with a few thousand units and multiplied by 10, we're suddenly talking about tens of thousands of units. That's not just ordering more product, that's completely transforming your entire operation overnight. The logistics alone should make this story impossible to believe. When you multiply inventory by 10, you don't just need 10 times more product. You need 10 times the warehouse space, 10 times the packaging materials, 10 times the shipping capacity, 10 times the quality control processes, and 10 times the customer service infrastructure to handle the volume. Small lifestyle brands don't casually scale up by a factor of 10 without massive operational overhauls and significant capital investment. But wait, it gets even more absurd. Meghan claims that this 10 times larger inventory, which they expected to last for weeks based on normal retail projections, somehow sold out in just a couple of hours.
That sold out in a couple hours.
Think about what she's suggesting happened here. Tens of thousands of units moving in 120 minutes. That would represent one of the most explosive demand spikes in consumer goods history, yet she presents it as just another day at the office. The operational requirements for processing tens of thousands of orders in a couple of hours are staggering. You'd need thousands of simultaneous transactions processing successfully, enterprise-level e-commerce systems that can handle massive traffic spikes, payment processing that never fails, warehouse operations that can fulfill orders in real time, and shipping logistics that can handle sudden volume surges. This is the kind of infrastructure that takes established companies years to build and millions of dollars to maintain. What makes this story even more suspicious is the complete absence of any visible cultural impact from this supposed phenomenon. When consumer products experience the kind of explosive demand Meghan describes, when tens of thousands of units disappear in hours, it creates massive digital footprints.
And suddenly the conversation goes from a few thousand jars and lids to we need to do a purchase order of 1 million.
Social media explodes with content. News outlets pick up the story, influencers create buzz, and competitors start analyzing what happened. Yet this supposed retail earthquake seems to have occurred without generating any of the typical indicators that accompany genuine viral consumer demand. There are no trending hashtags, no business publications analyzing the phenomenon, no industry experts commenting on the unprecedented scaling, no frustrated customers posting about website crashes. It's retail success that somehow happened in complete cultural isolation. The timeline she's describing would also require operational sophistication that completely contradicts her other claims about the business. She presents her brand as personal and artisanal, where she's intimately involved in recipe development and quality control. But then she claims it can seamlessly process tens of thousands of orders in hours without any operational hiccups. You can't be both a personal artisanal brand and an enterprise-level fulfillment operation simultaneously. This 10 times inventory story reveals someone who either fundamentally misunderstands how retail scaling actually works, or feels comfortable fabricating operational details that sound impressive but make no practical sense. Either way, it exposes a casual relationship with business credibility that should make anyone question every other claim in the interview. The million-unit fantasy that breaks all business logic. Now we've reached what might be the single most absurd claim in the entire interview. And trust me, that's saying something given what we've already covered. After describing her supposedly explosive inventory scaling, Meghan delivers a statement so mathematically impossible and logistically insane that it exposes just how completely detached from business reality she actually is. She claims that their conversations have shifted from discussing thousands of units at the start of the year to needing purchase orders for millions of units. Let me repeat that. Millions of units. For Jam & Rose products from a lifestyle brand that most people had never heard of before this interview. I need you to understand the magnitude of what she's suggesting happened to her business in just a few months.
That's a huge jump in just a few months of starting a business.
A purchase order for 1 million units isn't just a big number. It's a commitment that would place her brand in the same operational league as major consumer packaged goods companies with decades of market presence, massive distribution networks, and established retail relationships. The manufacturing requirements alone make this claim completely impossible. To justify a 1 million-unit purchase order, you need verifiable demand from established retail partners, confirmed distribution agreements, or overwhelming consumer pre-orders that guarantee sales. You don't randomly decide to manufacture 1 million units of artisanal jam because you had a couple of successful online drops. Let's talk about the financial implications. Manufacturing 1 million units would require millions of dollars in upfront costs for materials, production, packaging, and storage. The working capital requirements would be enormous, and no legitimate manufacturer would accept such an order without significant financial guarantees and proven demand validation. We're talking about the kind of capital investment that requires institutional backing, detailed business plans, and extensive financial due diligence. Storage and logistics for 1 million units would require warehouse facilities measured in hundreds of thousands of square feet. We're talking about industrial-scale distribution centers with sophisticated inventory management systems, not the kind of operation someone runs out of their Montecito lifestyle brand headquarters. The infrastructure requirements alone would require months of planning and millions in facility investments. What makes this claim even more devastating is how Meghan presents this million-unit conversation as if it's a natural progression from her earlier claims about selling a few thousand units. There's no recognition of the massive operational, financial, and logistical gulf between these scales of business. It's like claiming you went from riding a bicycle to piloting a commercial airliner in a few months. The skills, infrastructure, and operational requirements are completely different. The complete absence of any visible infrastructure to support this supposed scaling exposes how fictional this entire narrative really is. If her brand genuinely needed million-unit manufacturing capacity, there would be job postings for warehouse operations, facility expansion announcements, industry partnership press releases, and supply chain developments. None of that exists because none of this is real. But perhaps the most damaging aspect of this million-unit fairy tale is how it contradicts everything else Meghan says about her business philosophy. She emphasizes artisanal quality, personal recipe development, and the intimate connection between her home cooking and the final products. You can't maintain artisanal quality and personal touch while manufacturing millions of units through industrial-scale operations. The contradiction reveals someone who wants credit for both boutique authenticity and mass-market success without understanding that these are mutually exclusive approaches.
I'm exasperated in some ways by that, only because it is such a tedious proposition to scale your own home recipe to something at mass and maintain the same, not just quality, but the same flavor that you're able to do at home.
This million-unit claim isn't just an exaggeration or wishful thinking. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of how consumer businesses actually scale and grow. It exposes someone whose relationship with business credibility is so casual that she can't recognize how absurd her own claims sound. This is the moment I've been waiting to share with you, and honestly, it's so spectacular that you might need to read it twice to fully appreciate how completely Meghan destroys her own narrative about being an independent entrepreneur. What she reveals about her Netflix relationship exposes the entire fiction behind her supposed business empire. Meghan starts by painting this beautiful picture of herself as an empowered business owner who maintains complete creative control, while Netflix simply provides supportive infrastructure. She wants us to believe that she's calling all the shots, making all the strategic decisions, and driving the direction of her business empire, while Netflix just writes checks and stays out of her way. The way she initially describes this arrangement makes it sound like the perfect partnership for an independent entrepreneur. Netflix supposedly told her that this is her baby and her brand, giving her final say on all creative decisions and business directions.
They very graciously said, no, this is your baby and this is your brand. So all creative decisions and final decisions like that end up with me.
It's exactly the kind of story that would appeal to anyone who values authenticity and creative independence. But then something absolutely devastating happens. As the conversation continues, Meghan starts revealing details about how this partnership actually works. And every single detail contradicts the independent entrepreneur image she just spent time crafting. She admits that Netflix's involvement goes far beyond simple financial backing. She reveals that Netflix is providing the suppliers, the manufacturing relationships, the consumer products expertise, the distribution networks, and essentially every piece of infrastructure that makes her business possible. If Netflix is controlling the supply chain, the manufacturing, and the distribution, in what meaningful sense is Meghan actually running an independent business? The contradiction becomes even more devastating when she admits that her original plan was completely different.
They have a lot of incredible suppliers and manufacturers that they are comfortable working with.
She wanted to build out her own team and execute everything on her own terms, which would have given her genuine control and potentially much more financial upside. But then Netflix made what she calls a compelling offer and convinced her to abandon her independence. This isn't the story of an empowered entrepreneur maintaining creative control. This is the story of someone who gave up their independence in exchange for corporate infrastructure while pretending they're still calling the shots. She's essentially licensing her name and image to Netflix's existing consumer products machine, while presenting herself as an autonomous business leader. What makes this contradiction particularly damaging is the timing. Just days after this interview was conducted, major entertainment industry publications reported that the Netflix deal had been significantly restructured and downgraded. Instead of the exclusive supportive partnership she describes, they reportedly signed a much less valuable arrangement that allows them to shop projects elsewhere if Netflix passes. This means either Meghan wasn't being honest about the strength of their partnership during this interview, or she was completely unaware that their relationship was about to change dramatically.
That had been my plan. And I thought that it would be great just to build out my own team and really do it purely on my terms.
Either scenario raises serious questions about her business acumen and awareness of her own operational reality. The Netflix partnership revelation exposes the fundamental problem with Meghan's entire business narrative. She wants to present herself as an independent, authentic entrepreneur, while actually being completely dependent on corporate infrastructure. She wants credit for business success while outsourcing every aspect of actual business operations. This isn't just about one partnership arrangement. This is about recognizing when someone constructs a public image that's completely disconnected from operational reality. The Netflix partnership illusion reveals someone who either doesn't understand the difference between independence and dependence, or feels comfortable presenting fiction as fact when it serves their narrative purposes. The crew-size exaggeration that reveals a pattern. Let's talk about another moment where Meghan's need to make everything sound more impressive than it actually is completely backfires and exposes her pattern of inflating operational details. When discussing her Netflix show production, she makes a claim about crew size that reveals either a fundamental misunderstanding of television production or another example of her casual relationship with factual accuracy. Meghan wants us to believe that her lifestyle show required a crew of 80 people. She presents this as if it's just a normal detail that viewers might not think about. But anyone familiar with television production knows that 80 crew members represents a massive Hollywood production-level operation, not a simple cooking and lifestyle show.
And a huge crew, which I think people often forget. That was a crew of 80 people.
For context, most cooking shows and lifestyle programs operate with crews of 15 to 30 people, including camera operators, sound technicians, lighting crew, producers, and support staff. Even high-end cooking shows with elaborate setups rarely require more than 40 crew members total. A crew of 80 people would typically be reserved for major narrative productions, complex multi-location shoots, or shows requiring extensive special effects and post-production work. We're talking about the crew size you'd expect for a major drama series or feature film, not someone making jam and arranging flowers in their kitchen. The logistics and costs of managing 80 crew members would be astronomical for a lifestyle brand show.
So most of it in the pre-production was inspired by recipes that I love to make.
Each crew member requires payment, insurance, catering, transportation, and coordination. The budget implications alone would make this claim financially ridiculous for the type of content she's producing. What makes this exaggeration particularly revealing is that it serves no purpose other than making her operation sound more important and elaborate than it actually is. The quality of a lifestyle show has absolutely nothing to do with crew size, and most viewers would never think to ask about staffing levels. This detail only matters if you're trying to inflate the perceived scale and importance of your production. The 80-person crew claim fits perfectly with every other aspect of Meghan's business narrative. She consistently inflates numbers, exaggerates scale, and presents normal business operations as if they're unprecedented achievements. Whether it's 44-minute sellouts, 10 times inventory scaling, million-unit purchase orders, or massive crew sizes, there's a clear pattern of making everything sound more impressive than reality would support. But the real damage isn't just the exaggeration itself. It's what this pattern reveals about her approach to public credibility and business authenticity. When someone consistently inflates operational details across multiple areas, sales figures, inventory numbers, crew sizes, partnership arrangements, it suggests a fundamental disconnect from the difference between aspiration and actual achievement. This crew size story is just another piece of evidence that Meghan approaches business narratives the same way she seems to approach other public statements, with a casual relationship to factual accuracy that prioritizes impression management over truth-telling. Global expansion dreams without domestic foundation.
And the plan is to go global.
Yes, absolutely.
Here's another moment where Meghan's business claims venture into pure fantasy territory. And this one perfectly illustrates how disconnected her planning is from operational reality. She confidently announces plans for global expansion while showing zero evidence of the infrastructure, partnerships, or operational capacity that would make international scaling even remotely possible for a startup lifestyle brand. When asked about her brand's future, Meghan declares that the plan is definitely to go global, responding with enthusiastic certainty, as if this is an inevitable next step, rather than a massive undertaking that requires years of planning and millions in investment. The casual confidence with which she discusses global expansion reveals someone who either doesn't understand what international business scaling actually involves, or feels comfortable making ambitious promises without realistic implementation strategies. Global expansion for consumer goods requires established distribution networks, international shipping logistics, customs compliance systems, local market research, currency management capabilities, and regulatory approvals in each target country. Most successful brands spend years building domestic market share, understanding their core customers, and perfecting their operational systems before attempting international expansion. But Meghan presents going global as if it's just a matter of deciding to ship products internationally. She shows no awareness of the operational complexity, financial requirements, or strategic planning that legitimate global expansion demands. There's no mention of target markets, distribution strategies, regulatory considerations, or the massive infrastructure investments required to serve international customers effectively.
Do you want to see it at Target or Williams-Sonoma or?
I think a key retail partner is going to be very valuable.
What makes this global expansion claim particularly absurd is that she admits in the same interview that they don't even have basic domestic retail partnerships figured out yet. She's still trying to identify which retail partners make sense for different product categories, but somehow she's confident about conquering international markets. The contradiction is staggering. You can't have a coherent global expansion strategy when you're still figuring out whether your products belong at Target or Williams-Sonoma. These are fundamental distribution questions that should be resolved long before considering international markets. It's like announcing plans to open restaurants worldwide while you're still trying to figure out your menu for the local location. The casual way she discusses global expansion while simultaneously revealing basic strategic confusion about domestic retail placement exposes how disconnected her business planning is from operational reality. She's making grand international pronouncements while struggling with elementary retail strategy decisions that most successful brands resolve in their first year of operation. This global expansion fantasy fits perfectly with every other aspect of Meghan's business narrative. She consistently makes ambitious claims about the future, while showing little understanding of the practical steps required to achieve those goals. It's all vision, with zero viable execution strategy. All aspiration with no operational foundation.
Might have exclusivity in certain ones that make sense for the consumables, but as you expand into candles or things throughout the home, where do those live that it makes sense?
The global expansion claim reveals someone who approaches business planning the same way she seems to approach everything else, with confident declarations that sound impressive but collapse under basic scrutiny about implementation details and practical requirements. Here's where Meghan reveals just how disconnected she is from basic market research and customer analysis, and honestly, this might be the most telling moment in the entire interview. When discussing the mixed reviews her Netflix show received, she makes claims about knowing her audience that expose either complete ignorance about consumer behavior or willful blindness to actual market feedback. Meghan dismisses negative criticism by claiming she knows exactly who she was trying to reach, and that her target demographic loves the show. She presents this audience certainty as if it's based on sophisticated market analysis and customer data. But her explanation reveals someone who's never done actual customer research or meaningful market analysis.
I think I knew who I was trying to meet. And so if you know your audience, you know your demographic, well, they love the show.
The problem with her audience certainty claims is that she provides zero data, metrics, or verifiable evidence to support her assertions about demographic loyalty. She just declares that her audience loves the show because it validates her business narrative, not because she has actual customer feedback systems, satisfaction surveys, or engagement metrics to support these claims. The way she dismisses critics is particularly revealing. She suggests that people saying negative things might secretly be going home and making her recipes anyway. This isn't market analysis. It's wishful thinking disguised as business strategy. Real customer research involves actual data collection, feedback systems, and measurable engagement metrics, not assumptions about what critics might be doing in private. What makes this audience certainty delusion so damaging is that it prevents any real business learning or improvement. If you're convinced that criticism comes from people who secretly love your product, you'll never address actual market feedback or customer concerns. Successful businesses constantly analyze customer behavior, track satisfaction metrics, conduct focus groups, and adapt based on real consumer responses.
I think oftentimes the negative voices, are they saying negative things and then secretly going home and making single skillet spaghetti? Possibly.
They don't just assume their target audience loves everything and dismiss negative feedback as irrelevant. They understand that market success requires continuous learning, adaptation, and genuine responsiveness to customer needs and preferences. The most telling aspect of her audience certainty claims is how they contradict everything else she says about learning from customer feedback and business metrics. Earlier in the interview, she complained about not getting proper analytics from her supposed sellout speeds because everything sold too quickly to gather meaningful data. But now she's completely confident about audience response without any supporting data or measurement systems. This contradiction reveals someone who uses market certainty, claims strategically, claiming ignorance when it excuses operational shortcomings, but declaring certainty when it deflects criticism.
And that's why we have a season 2 and why we have more fun coming.
It's not confidence based on data or genuine market understanding. It's defensive positioning masquerading as business acumen. The audience certainty claims expose a fundamental problem with how Meghan approaches market feedback and customer relationships. Instead of using criticism as valuable input for business improvement, she dismisses it as irrelevant noise from people who don't understand her vision. This approach might protect her ego, but it prevents the kind of customer-focused adaptation that successful businesses require. Our final stop on this journey through business contradictions reveals how Meghan's attempt to sound relatable and accessible completely backfires and exposes the manufactured nature of her connection to regular consumers. When she discusses pricing strategy and target market positioning, she delivers contradictions that reveal someone who fundamentally misunderstands both luxury branding and genuine accessibility. Meghan tells this touching story about remembering her teenage self wanting to buy specific designer items and how this supposedly inspired her to price products accessibly. She positions her $9 jam as something her 15-year-old self could afford, presenting this as evidence of her connection to regular consumers and her understanding of financial constraints.
So there is something I think really important in that the first hero product was this $9 jar of jam, which my 15-year-old self would have been able to buy.
But here's where her pricing strategy story completely falls apart. The designer items she references as teenage aspirations were never budget products. They were luxury items for teenagers from affluent families. Someone who could afford designer teenage clothing wasn't exactly struggling to buy $9 specialty food products. Using childhood designer shopping experiences as evidence of understanding financial constraints is exactly backward from how actual financial awareness develops. The contradiction reveals itself when she discusses her actual target market and business positioning. She talks about premium positioning, luxury packaging, aspirational branding, and high-end retail partnerships, while simultaneously claiming accessibility is her primary concern. You can't be both a luxury lifestyle brand and genuinely accessible to budget-conscious consumers. These are fundamentally different market positions that require completely different strategies. What makes this pricing contradiction particularly damaging is how it exposes the artificial nature of her relatability narrative. She's trying to position herself as understanding regular financial concerns, while revealing experiences and perspectives that are completely disconnected from normal economic realities. The $9 jam price point isn't actually accessible for most families dealing with genuine budget constraints. That's premium specialty food pricing positioned in the luxury lifestyle market, not mass market affordability. Her understanding of accessibility seems limited to making luxury products slightly less expensive, rather than actually serving budget-conscious consumers. When someone talks about pricing decisions based on teenage designer shopping memories, they're revealing a perspective shaped by privilege, rather than genuine understanding of financial limitations. Real accessibility in consumer products comes from understanding actual household budgets, shopping behaviors, and economic constraints that most families face. This pricing strategy contradiction perfectly encapsulates everything problematic about Meghan's business narrative.
And if you could get the one with the rhinestone, BB, you really made it. And I always think about that version of me.
She consistently tries to position herself as understanding regular consumers, while revealing experiences and perspectives that demonstrate complete disconnection from normal financial realities. The entire pricing explanation is another example of someone constructing business stories that sound good in interviews but collapse under basic scrutiny about actual market positioning and consumer accessibility. She's not actually serving accessible markets or understanding budget-conscious consumers. She's just making luxury products slightly cheaper while pretending it represents genuine financial awareness.
Standpoint, I know where I came from. I remember being in high school and having my after-school job, and all I wanted to do was save up to buy a shirt that said BB.
So there you have it, 8 absolutely devastating moments where Meghan Markle's business claims didn't just fall apart, they exploded into complete fiction right before our eyes. From the mathematically impossible 44-minute sellouts to the logistically absurd million-unit purchase orders, from the Netflix partnership illusion to the global expansion fantasies, every single claim she made revealed someone who's either completely disconnected from business reality or comfortable fabricating success stories with remarkable confidence. What makes this Bloomberg interview so particularly revealing isn't just the individual exaggerations and contradictions. It's the pattern it exposes about how Meghan approaches credibility, authenticity, and public trust. She consistently inflates numbers, exaggerates achievements, and presents normal business operations as unprecedented successes, all while seeming genuinely convinced that no one would question the basic mathematics or logistics behind her claims. The most telling aspect of these 8 exposed moments is how they reveal someone who's constructed an entire business persona around fictional narratives. The 44-minute sellouts that defy retail logic, the inventory scaling that ignores operational reality, the million-unit fantasies that contradict basic supply chain principles, and the partnership arrangements that expose complete dependence while claiming independence. But perhaps the most damaging revelation is how these business fabrications connect to everything else we've observed about public narrative construction and celebrity culture. This isn't just about questionable sales figures or exaggerated crew sizes. This is about recognizing patterns of someone who constructs multiple versions of reality, depending on what narrative serves their interests at any given moment. The Bloomberg interview was supposed to establish Meghan as a serious entrepreneur and business leader. Instead, it exposed someone whose relationship with factual accuracy is so casual that she can't keep basic business claims consistent within a single conversation. When someone's success stories sound more like fairy tales than real commerce, when their scaling claims defy mathematical logic, and when their partnership descriptions contradict obvious operational realities, you have to question everything else they've presented as fact. What struck me most while analyzing this interview was how unnecessary these exaggerations were. Building a legitimate lifestyle brand, even a modest one, is genuinely challenging and worthy of respect. There's nothing wrong with starting small, learning from failures, scaling gradually, and celebrating realistic achievements. The business world is full of entrepreneurs who've built successful companies through honest effort, careful planning, and authentic customer relationships. But instead of embracing authentic entrepreneurship with all its genuine challenges and modest victories, we got a performance designed to create the illusion of unprecedented success, without the operational substance to support it. Every claim was inflated, every achievement was exaggerated, and every normal business operation was repackaged as revolutionary accomplishment. The sad irony is that authentic entrepreneurship, with all its real struggles, genuine learning experiences, and gradual growth, would have been far more compelling and credible than these fabricated fairy tales. Real business building involves failures, adjustments, market education, and incremental progress. It's challenging, sometimes frustrating, but ultimately rewarding when you create genuine value for customers. Instead, we witnessed someone attempting to shortcut credibility through narrative construction rather than operational achievement. The result wasn't just unconvincing, it was a masterclass in how not to build authentic business credibility in an age when operational details are easily verifiable and mathematical claims can be quickly analyzed. This interview will likely be studied as an example of how celebrity business narratives can collapse when they encounter basic journalistic scrutiny. It's a reminder that in our interconnected, information-rich world, authentic achievement is both more valuable and more sustainable than carefully crafted fiction. The question isn't whether Meghan could build a legitimate business. Many people with far fewer advantages have done exactly that. The question is whether she's interested in doing the actual work required to build something real, rather than constructing elaborate narratives about achievements that exist primarily in her imagination. What was the most absurd business claim for you? Was it the 44-minute miracle sellout that defied all retail logic? The million-unit fairy tale that contradicted basic manufacturing principles? Or the Netflix independence illusion that exposed complete operational dependence? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know which moment made you realize just how disconnected these business stories were from reality. If this deep dive into celebrity business narrative construction opened your eyes to how these success stories get manufactured for public consumption, smash that like button and help others see through the performance. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell because we're just getting started with these investigations into how public personas get constructed and maintained in our celebrity-obsessed culture. And stick around because the next video dives even deeper into how these narrative patterns extend beyond business claims into other areas of public storytelling. Trust me, once you start recognizing these patterns, you'll never listen to celebrity success stories the same way again.